Hello everybody, it's me, Fax5, I'm the one and only. You know, I actually had a different video planned for today initially. I even made the video and everything, but then on Tuesday night, some fascinating news broke that I honestly considered to be, well, pretty potent to talk about at the moment. You've probably read the title already, so let's get into this bad boy. Initially published on April 19th, 2023 at 2:24 a.m. Fox settles Dominion lawsuit for $787.5 million over U.S. election lies. Written by Helen Koster and Jack Queen from Reuters. Fox Corp and Fox News on Tuesday settled a defamation lawsuit by Dominion Voting Systems for $787.5 million, averting a trial putting one of the world's top media companies in the crosshairs over its coverage of false vote rigging claims in the 2020 U.S. election. You know, I always thought it was a bit of a misnomer to call it the U.S. election, because when you really break it down, it's 51 little elections, because you got the 50 states and D.C. But that's just something I got on my mind whenever I see the term, like, U.S. presidential election. The settlement, which legal experts said was the largest struck by an American media company, was announced by the two sides and the judge in the case at the 11th hour. The jury had been selected earlier in the day, and the trial poised for opening statements in Wilmington, Delaware. Dominion had sought $1.6 billion in damages in the lawsuit filed in 2021. You know, jury selection can really take a while. Like, when they say 11th hour here, they really mean 11th hour, like last possible second. Dominion CEO John Paulos called the settlement historic.
Fox has admitted to telling lies about Dominion that caused enormous damage to my company, our employees, and our customers,
Paulos said in a statement.
Truthful reporting in the media is essential to our democracy,
Paulos said. At issue in the lawsuit was whether Fox was liable for airing false claims that Denver-based Dominion's ballot counting machines were used to manipulate the presidential election in favor of Democrat Joe Biden over then-President Donald Trump, a Republican. Tuesday's settlement spared Fox the peril of having some of its best-known figures called to the witness stand and subjected to potentially withering questioning, including executives such as Rupert Murdoch, the 92-year-old who serves as Fox Corp chairman, as well as on-air hosts Tucker Carlson, Sean Hannity, and Jeanine Pirro. I'll be honest, this part did bum me out a bit. Would have been interesting to see what those guys said on the stand. Also, I knew Murdoch was old, but he's 92 and he's still active at News Corp. I honestly did not expect him to be that old. Fox anchor Neil Cavuto broke into his news show Your World about 4:30 p.m. Eastern Time to report the settlement. A statement by Fox was read on air.
We are pleased to have reached a settlement of our dispute with Dominion Voting Systems. We acknowledge the court's rulings find certain claims about Dominion to be false. This settlement reflects Fox's continued commitment to the highest journalistic standards. We are hopeful that our decision to resolve this dispute with Dominion amicably, instead of the acrimony of a divisive trial, allows the country to move forward from these issues.
Fox has billions in cash. Shares of Fox Corp closed up slightly at $34 per share, but were down 1% in after-hours trading following disclosure of the settlement amount. Fox has cash on hand to pay for a settlement. It committed $3 billion to buy back shares in the first quarter after revenues beat estimates. Fox Corp CEO Lachlan Murdoch told Wall Street analysts in February that the company had about $4 billion cash on hand. Dominion lawyers declined to answer questions about whether Fox News would apologize publicly or make changes. Fox News is the most watched U.S. cable network. The settlement of $787.5 million is the largest amount of money paid to conclude an American media libel case, said Richard Toffel, principal of Gallatin Advisory. The previously highest paid amount occurred in 2017 when Walt Disney Company paid $177 million in addition to insurance recoveries to settle the so-called Pink Slime defamation case against its ABC network by Beef Products Incorporated. Dominion sued Fox Corp and Fox News, contending that its business was ruined by the false vote rigging claims that were aired by the news outlet known for its roster of conservative commentators. The trial was to have tested whether Fox's coverage crossed the line between ethical journalism and the pursuit of ratings, as Dominion alleged and Fox denied. Fox had portrayed itself in pre-trial skirmishing as a defender of press freedom. Delaware Superior Court Judge Eric Davis, presiding over the case, had ordered a one-day trial postponement on Monday. Fox was pursuing settlement talks, two sources familiar with the matter said. Davis delayed the trial on Tuesday as the two sides appeared to hammer out the deal in private. The primary question for jurors was to be whether Fox knowingly spread false information or recklessly disregarded the truth, the standard of so-called actual malice that Dominion must show to prevail in a defamation case. In February court filings, Dominion cited a trove of internal communications in which Murdoch and other Fox figures privately acknowledged that the vote-rigging claims made about Dominion on air were false. Dominion said Fox amplified the untrue claims to boost its ratings and prevent its viewers from migrating to other media competitors on the right. Another lawsuit pending. Adding to the legal risks for Fox, another U.S. voting technology company, Smartmatic, is pursuing its own defamation lawsuit seeking $2.7 billion in damages in a New York state court.
For many plaintiffs, a court holding and admission by the defendant about falsity are even more important than actual money damages,
said Mary Rose Papandera, a constitutional law professor at the University of North Carolina School of Law. Fox had earlier argued that claims by Trump and his lawyers about the election were inherently newsworthy and protected by the U.S. Constitution's First Amendment. Davis ruled in March that Fox could not use those arguments as a defense, finding its coverage was false, defamatory, and not protected by the First Amendment. The lawsuit referenced instances in which Trump allies, including his former lawyers Rudolph Giuliani and Sidney Powell, appeared on Fox News to advance the false allegations. Murdoch internally described the election rigging claims as
really crazy
and
damaging,
but declined to wield his editorial power to stop them and conceded under oath that some Fox hosts nonetheless
endorsed
the baseless claims, Dominion told the court in a filing. Under questioning from a Dominion lawyer, Murdoch testified that he thought everything about the election was on the
up and up
and doubted the rigging claims from the very beginning, according to Dominion's filing. Asked if he could have intervened to stop Giuliani from continuing to spread falsehoods on air, Murdoch responded,
"I could have, but I didn't,"
the filing said. The important landmark Supreme Court case that comes up whenever a libel suit is involved is New York Times versus Sullivan. It's from sometime in the 60s or so. Basically, prior to NYTV Sullivan, I should actually say, I do support New York Times versus Sullivan, and allow me to explain why. You see, prior to New York Times v. Sullivan, one thing that tended to happen, I don't know how often it happened, but I know it happened often enough, was oftentimes elites, and by elites, I more mean local elites, like say, the corrupt sheriff, the corrupt corporation, or like the corrupt local corporation, maybe the corrupt, the mayor, that sort of thing. If they didn't like, a dissident reporter reporting on their sketchy shit, then what they would do is, they would look through that reporter's reporting, they would find some errors that the reporter made because you're gonna make errors, it's just life. And basically be like, aha, this is defamation, this is slander, I'm going to sue you over this. And, you know, most small newspapers, they didn't want to deal with the headache of a lawsuit. And in fact, it took, you know, literally like the New York Times, which is perhaps like one of the biggest, if not the biggest newspaper in the USA, were basically willing to take on a crooked southern sheriff who was aggressively trying to squelch any reporting on the negatives of segregation or on the then nascent civil rights movement. Now, I will concede that an effective New York Times v. Sullivan is that it does give, you know, the media, in quotes, a lot of free range to speculate and to report things that turn out to be untrue. In fact, the Sullivan case set a pretty high bar, saying that a news outlet either had to knowingly spread false information or be so absolutely reckless with their disregard for the truth that it constituted a sense of like actual malice rather than honest reporting that just didn't turn out to be true. I'll be honest, I wonder if the Smartmatic guys will go into whatchamacallit. Well, not settle, because I think it would be kind of interesting to make Tucker Carlson have to testify. Oh boy. Especially like if you ever saw any of like, you know, the texts received in the background, or sorry, not in the background, text from behind the scenes that were made public, you know, things like Tucker Carlson talking about how he hates Trump with a passion, or various Fox hosts talking about how, well, as the original article referenced, how the vote rigging claims were crazy and that sort of thing. And if I do recall correctly, one part about libel or slander is you do have to demonstrate that there was some sort of damage, usually monetary, that was caused by, you know, these by false, well, slander. And I do recall that both Dominion and Smartmatic actually lost contracts in generally conservative areas after the false reports about them rigging the vote for Joe Biden came out. Yeah, for any non-American listeners, American elections, like most other things, are very decentralized. Like earlier I mentioned how the US presidential election is not really one big election, but 51 little elections. And then each state generally has free reign regarding how they conduct their elections. And generally speaking, the states tend to dole that authority out to individual counties. And if a county happens to have an exceptionally large population, then they might dole it out to a city or some sort of like precincts. So it's, you know, not it's not impossible, you know, for a single city to have multiple different, you know, kind of voting precincts, each one using its own voting tabulation company. It's honestly very confusing. One thing that I did find kind of interesting about the stuff revealed in this case is it showed that you know, Rupert Murdoch and what seems to be a lot of the American right has cultivated an audience that, like, they don't want to be informed. They just want to feel. Now, I'm going to make it clear, I'm not saying that everybody on the right is like this, and I'm not saying that nobody on the left is like this. But what I am saying is that there is a sizable right-wing audience who, well, doesn't want to be informed, they just want to feel. Now they want to feel vindicated, they want to feel victimized, they want to feel validated. All the big V's, you know. If you have any takes on that, or any takes on this, feel free to let me know in the comments. You can also like and subscribe and share this thing around. You can give me money if you want, or don't. I'm not your boss. I'm just Fax 5 'em, and right now, I'm signing off.